We wanted to be able to educate and elevate the community to understand what the home buying process is and how significant that can be in their life. So because I've been down that path and I understand that path, and now I am 42 years old and I'm wanting to make sure that those that are coming up now and are in their 20s and in their 30s are getting the education that when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't getting.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Your Peak Life podcast. We have a special guest today, one RJ Carrington. So we're going to kick this off and get right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry.
Okay. So again, my name is RJ Carrington. I've been in real estate for 15 years now. I began in Washington, D.C., and I worked for MRIS, which was the MLS, like our reign.
Okay.
And that's how I literally began my real estate career. It was not purposeful. It was by happenstance. I just found out that there was a call center that had a very high hourly rate. I didn't even know that it was real estate at all.
Okay.
And so I started there and began taking calls, and basically it was like when you call Rain and you ask questions about your listing and
customer service.
Exactly.
Okay.
And from there, Marcus Jaffe was a Keller Williams broker, and they were getting ready to open their very first Keller Williams office in Northeast DC. And so he was one of the people that would always call and ask to speak directly to me. So he called in and he said, "Hey, I don't have a question. I more or less wanted to know if you would come and be our office manager at our new office."
Wow.
And that was Keller Williams Capital Properties of Washington, D.C., which is a very well-known
So just
brokerage.
based on your customer service at what we would call Rain.
Yes.
An owner of Keller Williams called you and said, "Hey, we can use your services."
Yep. And
That's
so that's
awesome.
That's literally how my real estate career began. So I was what they call a DOFI, a director of first impressions. That's what Keller Williams calls it, director of first impressions. And so began working with Keller Williams, switched from that one to Northwest under the direction of the broker there. His name was Brandon Green. And from there, that's literally how my career started. Left Keller Williams and went to work for what's called HomeSnap now, but at that point it was called Sawbuck Realty, and they were pretty much just like a Zillow. And so basically they were just scouting agents across the United States that would take the leads and then
Right, a consumer interface. They're sending referrals.
Exactly. And I was literally in the office the day that the tech guy came up with the technology that you could snap a picture in front of a house and the property record would come up. And from there, HomeSnap grew.
Wow. So how do you go from that to when we met years ago? We've actually known each other for nearly a decade now.
Yes.
We met at Creed Realty.
Yes,
so
sir.
what brought you to Virginia Beach and doing real estate here?
So basically, I came back home. Virginia is home for me. So I came back home here to Virginia and took some time off. Before I started with Creed, I actually worked for a small time with Neil Bennett of Berkshire Hathaway as being his real estate assistant. That was just to kind of get me familiar with real estate here in Virginia again. Because I didn't know, I was more or less more trained for
DC,
MRIS.
right?
Yes, yeah. DC, the metropolitan area. So had to switch up and, figure out how it all worked here in this area. So I was with him for like 6 months or what have you. And then had an interview with Mia, and that was a story. But they actually hired somebody else. I was not selected for the position initially. And Mia went to the Chick-fil-A and decided, you know what? Nope, I'm going to give RJ a call and ask him if he would like to really take this position. So I began my career back here at Creed, and that was in 2016.
So fast forwarding from 2016 and Creed, where we met, you now are with us at Iron Valley Real Estate, Hampton Roads. You have been there to assist in opening 3 offices and signing 130 plus agents in the last 9 months, which has been insane. And And most recently, you moved from our Newport News office to the Chesapeake location.
Yes.
But more importantly, aside from you having assisted the company and obviously being on payroll as an employee, you are also still selling homes.
I am doing the best I can with what I got.
And that's all anybody can do, right?
Yes.
So, but let's talk about what brought you to Iron Valley and kind of how things went after that. Because shortly after that, you sold, I think, probably the biggest deal of your career.
One of them.
One of them.
Yes.
Oh, so sorry. We're going to talk about multiple then.
Yes.
And let's talk about also your vision for putting a team back together and maybe stepping into sales full time.
Yes.
I heard some rumors from some people, and I would love to support. So let's get into that.
Yeah, so started Iron Valley, Hampton Roads here in February of this year, and from there, everything has just been a whirlwind, but in a good way. In a good way, it's pushed me to grow, to start back growing, because there was a point that I kind of stopped. There was some things that I was trying to figure out for my team. There were some things I was trying to figure out for myself. So it just took me a moment. It took me a moment,
which is okay.
Yeah, to get my grind back. But as you said, what kind of boosted me was my Sandbridge deal that I got. So as soon as I started here, I was the number one agent in the office in Newport News the very first time. So
the agent of the month. What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So nice little pick me up.
So that was actually my third $1 million deal that I've done in my career thus far. And so my team is something that I'm very passionate about, the core group. And it is Hampton Roads' first and only all minority, all LGBTQ real estate team. And I have great vision for that team. I feel that there are a lot of teams here that focus on veterans. They focus on the military. There's single mom teams. There's all Hispanic teams. There's not a team yet here in Hampton Roads besides the core group that has a passion specifically for the LGBTQ community. Not to say that we are not going to be able to be of assistance to anybody else, but just as any other team that has a focus and has a niche, we wanted that to be ours. So with that, we wanted to be able to educate and elevate the community to understand what the home buying process is and how significant that can be in their life. So that we as the LGBTQ community can have a seat at the table just as our counterparts do currently.
Absolutely, and everybody should, because it's your right.
It is.
To own.
It is.
Anything you want in this life, regardless of anything else.
Very true. And what I've found is that education comes sparingly for that community. And there's a lot of other things that take more of precedence with them in just trying to survive and trying to be who you really are, that some of the other things in life take the back burner. So because I've been down that path and I understand that path, and now I am 42 years old and I'm wanting to make sure that those that are coming up now and are in their 20s and in their 30s are getting the education that when I was in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't getting.
Absolutely. I'm going to hit you with a bomb right now.
Come on, sir.
So I went to watch Andy get put on as a coach at Glover U, right? And Ed Milet was the keynote speaker. And what he said was, you are most qualified to help the people you once were.
Yes. And I know that to be the absolute truth. And that's why a lot of my friends are younger than me. I have a strong group of friends that are my 20-plus friends. They've been my friends for 20-plus years, but it's a small circle of them.
Oh, as time goes, so does attrition.
So, yes, yes. And a big part of my life for a long period of time was what's now known as the ballroom scene, which is an underground competition of the LGBTQ community. Most recently, I've been deemed what we call an icon, which is one of the highest levels, for being in the community, serving in the community, and being a beacon of light in the community in the ballroom scene. You just
had an event recently, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. So that I want to bring. I wanted to bring real estate to that. So here recently, I sponsored what's called a category for best dress for a ball. And it was how you would dress for your $1 million deal just closing when you come to the closing table. And with that, I wanted to make sure people understood what closing day was, what leads up to that. and to let
the
them know
emotions involved, all the people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
all the
it's
people
not just
that
selling
work.
a house.
And I wanted to, in my plan of bringing real estate to the community, and when I say the community, I'm meaning the LGBTQ plus community, I wanted to meet them where they are, meet us where we are. I didn't want to do a home buyer seminar in an office and try to get them to come to me.
Right.
That was going to be not successful. That would end up being not successful. So one of the first events we did was a drag brunch, where we actually did a drag show and had a brunch, and we brought people there from the real estate industry to talk to them about what a mortgage is, what securing a mortgage is, because a lot of people, honestly, whose parents were renters and did not just have that financial knowledge, nor had the finances. So therefore, you can't pass that information on to your child. Exactly. You can't pass that information on to your child. So that's all they know.
Did you have a good turnout as far as support from industry leaders for that?
Industry leaders, yes. The community, yes. And that was it. So that led me to start to look for a brokerage that would support me and my team and the vision, because it is almost like going to when you're a kid and you're going to your baseball game and your mom's not there or your dad's not there. It means a lot for the people that, you're learning
to accept you for who you are.
Exactly. And the people that are teaching you and that you're learning from, to be there with you in big moments like that.
Absolutely.
It was, and the event ended up going great, and from there, that was one of our very first events, and we've had events since then. In my career, I've understood that a lot of people do cold calling, a lot of people do door knocking.
We know what your specialty is.
It's events.
It's networking.
100%. It's getting out in front of people and letting them know that I'm a real estate agent.
But also being authentically yourself.
And 100% being RJ. And sometimes I say to my friends when we're getting ready to leave, I say, do I look like RJ? And if my outfit, and honestly, like today when I was getting dressed, I said, I want, if you could just make me a silhouette. If somebody saw that silhouette, would they say, that's RJ?
Yeah.
I want it to be a look that, because this is my brand. I am my brand. As a real estate agent, we are our brand. We are our walking billboards for ourselves. So whenever you go out in public, whenever you're representing yourselves at events, whatever the case may be, you should always be true and authentic to yourself, because people are going to see that, and they're going to honor that, and they're going to respect that, and they're going to respect you as a knowledgeable person for the field that you're in. So everybody knows, I take my look and how I present myself to the public, and how I conduct myself in the public. I take that that's very important to me, because with that, it's not real estate is not a 9 to 5 where you can just turn it off at 5 o'clock and decide to do whatever.
Tell everybody this is a lifestyle.
Whatever you want to do.
This isn't a job. This is a lifestyle.
And especially when I'm trying to be that educator to my community. So when I'm out and I'm at MJ's or I'm out at a ball or whatever the case may be, there's a certain level that I have to present myself.
How you carry yourself matters.
Yeah,
absolutely.
At all times.
Couldn't agree more. I just told somebody this morning at the training that, they asked me if I was hot because the room was hot, and I'm obviously wearing this.
Mm-hmm. Get that question all the time.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm hot.
However,
I must be done, right?
Yes,
like, so,
exactly.
It's just part of, unfortunately or fortunately, I look at it as fortunately, I have a duty to always be on. Mm-hmm. But I'm thankful for that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So some people look at it as a burden. I wake up every day ready to take over the world. Like that's just my mentality, and that's how I operate. So I can that goes with me. I'll put it that way,
Yeah.
So I will say that it's been a pleasure to support you.
I appreciate it.
And also see how you've impacted the firm and the people around you, whether, because you came on and it was like, well, you're going to be the admin at the Newport News office. And then it turned into a 90-day delay. So instead we opened 2 other offices in between.
In the middle, in 90 days. Right. Yeah.
But we got some cool things out of that. We got a dope coffee bar over in the Red Mill office. Yeah. We got a swanky lounge vibe in the Newport News office that you opened up, did the grand opening, signed over 30 agents with Edwin over there. And now you're plugged in with Andy and Chesapeake, helping us produce all of this stuff and being that liaison for the media side. And yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
It has. And it was a ride that wasn't expected. I thought to come on, because if you remember, my whole goal was to come on, bring my team, build my team. The team fell apart. Everybody who doesn't know now knows. My team fell apart, and because it's a passion, I wasn't willing to just let it go and just become RJ the solo agent, because I couldn't let the community see me fail. I could not let the people who I was trying to educate see the fall of something that I feel is going to be so great and impactful in the community. So I held it together by myself until my partner, who is a humongous support and has been a humongous support, and I call him the business mind of our team, because he goes far and beyond my reach, because I shoot from the hip and I'm emotional. And he is more of a level mind, and he has a very strong business ethic. And that's Kevon Martin. And when he told me, hey, RJ, we're gonna do this together. He was like, let's do this together, and let's make sure CORE really does what needs to be done. So at that point, CORE stood for Kevon, Omar, RJ, Eve, which were the founders of the CORE group at that time at Creed Realty. And now CORE stands for Knowledge of Real Estate. And that's what we want to present to our community, that we have knowledge of real estate and we want to pass that knowledge on. And not just to the community. And I know I say that quite often because that is the passion. But however, we want to give knowledge to real estate for anybody that trusts our service and trusts that we're going to be able to move them from one level to another in the home buying process or selling or anything real estate related.
I love it.
And so that's now what CORE stands for. We have not done a launch fully of that because there's still some pieces that I'm working on to put together.
Gotcha. Well, that leads me to my next question, and it doesn't have to be all business. Where does RJ see himself in 5 years in life?
In life overall, I see myself successful. I see myself successful, and I see helping the people around me to also be successful. I see myself having entities not only here in Virginia, but also in the Washington, D.C. area, because that's where I spent a great deal of my life. Backing up to before I even started real estate, I was a flight attendant for United, a first-class international flight attendant for United. And that's what took me from Virginia, where I graduated from Green Run High School, to Washington, D.C., because I was covering, for United, I was covering 3 airports, 2 in D.C. and the 1 Baltimore. And I did that for about a year and a half, and I had some health issues, and it didn't allow me to fly anymore. So that's how I stumbled into MRIS. But I did that after being when transitioning from Virginia and being a flight attendant, but 2 years after graduating high school up until 2016, and I graduated in 99. So 16 years of being in Washington, D.C., I captured a lot of great friends and I made a lot of great connections. And they know me as RJ that's in real estate, but they never knew what. They said, he don't sell houses, but he's in real estate. So they never really understood what it was.
Well, now you sell houses.
And now I sell houses. So, and just recently I've paired myself with Latasha Flamer from the Newport News office, and we are working with a mutual client. And again, never dim your light in what you think you're supposed to do, or never let anybody else's success taint what you know your success path is supposed to be. Because I've had many people say, you're not going to be successful as an agent if you don't cold call, if you don't do this. And that may be for a certain person, but I knew my path was not that. I knew it was going to be events. I knew it was going to be being out and networking with people. And had I not stuck to that, I don't know where I would be. But I'm saying all of that to say that one of my most recent events that I've attended this year was an all-white party. And the owner of the venue came to me after, and she was like, I want to be connected. I want to be connected with you. She was like, I don't know why, but I just want to be connected with you. And from there, I've helped her to try to grow her social media presence for her event center, which is 757 Events. They just opened a location at the oceanfront. She is one of the only Black-owned, minority-owned, she's a woman, and she owns this event center at the oceanfront, literally on Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah.
And so from that, she said, RJ, I want to grow my footprint here. They have one over on Virginia Beach off of Rosemont. So now I am working with my first commercial client. She has now brought me and Latasha on to find and secure another Chesapeake, Newport News, or Portsmouth location for her event. So I'm working now on my $4th $1 million deal.
Love it.
So with all of that, I will tell this small story. Before I got a $1 million deal ever, one of my very first clients was a good friend of mine, and her family had promised her to help her with closing costs. She basically lived in the hood, and she wanted out. And she wanted out to prove to herself and prove to her son and prove to her friends that it could be done, that a girl from the hood could. A girl from the hood could. That's really what she wanted to prove. And so she linked with me. I put her with, a lender at that point in time. They gave her a list of things to do. Then we just started being friends and rocking with each other, not knowing that behind the scenes she was silently working on all of those things. And when she got to the point that she knew she was ready, she hit me up. She says, RJ, guess what? I think I'm ready to buy a house. And I was like, okay. I said, she said, I did everything on the list. So I put her with another lender, and she was qualified. She was ready to go. She found a home. We wrote the offer. She was accepted, and her family then told her, "Hey, we're going to help you with the money that's needed, the cash to close to bring to the table." A couple of days, not even a week, a couple of days before, they reneged, and she had no cash to bring to the table. And knowing what she was trying to do, and knowing why I got into real estate, not just to collect a check. My very first, that was actually my second deal. My first deal came from a gift from Caroline Stryak when she had, when she actually had a deal with Zillow. She was doing some Zillow leads, and she said, RJ, can you help me with some of these Zillow leads? Nice. So that was my very first deal that I was able to close. But my second one, again, was this my friend that I'm talking about. And so at that point, I had to make a decision. Does she lose this deal? What happens? Yeah. And I literally gave up every piece of my commission so that she could bring cash to the table. I gave up my $7,000 commission on that property so that she could close and she could prove, because it meant more for what she was trying to do and be a vision and be a visionary for the people looking up to her. It meant more than a commission check for me. And from that's when the blessings started to come. And out of nowhere, I got a deal through Zillow again for someone looking to buy a vacation property in Sandbridge. And that was another deal that came through the pipeline of Caroline. And it was a split of 50-50. And then Caroline said, if if they ever do a deal with you, or, you make a good impression, RJ, then that'll be your client for life. A year later, her father called me. Awesome. And said, I need you to do for me what you did for my daughter.
Oh, shout out to Caroline.
Yes. And that was cool. My second $1 million deal. And then my cousin contacted me and said, hey, RJ, we're looking to, move from North Carolina to the VA area. Can you be our agent? I said, sure. We started out at $500. We moved up to $600. We went to $700. We ended up buying. They ended up buying at 1.5. And that was my third $1 million deal. So, and now I'm working on my fourth, and just got a call from my Sandbridge family that says they just completed an amazing season in the summer. And now the brother is looking to secure his property before the next season comes in. So I attribute that all back to, there was a pivotal point when I decided to give up my commission on that deal, because at that point it was not just, you're doing this to collect a check. You're doing this because you really care about people.
I'm going to wrap you into this. Your Peak Life.
Yes, sir.
Spin-off of the Peak Performance Training, right?
Yes.
We have the 8 peak tips to live your peak life. And the last one is clients first, checks later.
Yes.
So we just had a whole conversation about this morning at the final training session. And you're sitting here telling me that you are getting millions of dollars in business.
Yes, sir.
For giving up $7,000 one time to take care of people.
To take care of
people. So that's the whole point of everything we're doing.
It is. And I shout out to Creed Realty, which gave me a really good start, and shout out to Mia Roberson, which taught me a lot. And one of the values at Creed Realty was client before commission. And I see that being one of the core values also here at I Am
And a
Valley.
lot of the leadership came from there. So shout out to Mia.
Yes, 100%.
I see her a lot, when we're out at events and stuff, and she always gets a shout out from me. You know, she was the person that told me, Mike, you're going to have to pick one, the Navy or real estate. Well, Mia, I chose real estate, and we're fucking killing it. So
yep, and I called her, and I still do. There was a pause in that, and that was just so that I could understand exactly. Never diminish what somebody was in your life just because of one situation or something that you go through.
absolutely.
Never.
Couldn't agree more.
And she is my work mom. She literally is my work mom, and
there's a lot of them doing very well in our
Yes.
industry. And
Yes.
I mean, that's a fact.
yes, that she has
influenced in some way.
highly, greatly, yes.
Absolutely.
So, and at that point, I was focused. I was with Creed Realty when I did that deal, and I knew that it had to be client before commission. And with that being said, every couple of months, this client would just cash at me $1,000, $500, $200. And she hit me up and she says, my goal, RJ, is to pay you back your $7,000 before this year ends.
That's awesome.
So I'd never lost anything.
That's great.
So I thought I was giving up something, but I really never
life
lost
lesson
anything.
is what it is.
Yes, it is. And it's what keeps me going. And any of my friends will tell you, if I have it, it's yours. I'll give it to you. Because life has taught me that life is precious and life is short. And you never know. I have been on the side where I didn't know if I was going to see the next day. I've been in the hospital bed with the word from the doctor to tell my parents, to go ahead and start making final arrangements. I know what that feels like. And so I seize every day as a day to enjoy life and make sure that you're getting the most out of it. And make sure with that you are being a blessing or you are being great for somebody else, because you never know when your last day is going to be.
Absolutely.
And the one thing I say, and my friends don't like me to talk about this, but I need my funeral to be packed.
Yo, no,
I need my
agree.
funeral to
I'm
be
with it.
packed.
I want y'all
and
to party.
I want
for real.
y'all to go off. Y'all better look good, or I'm getting up and I'm saying something about that casket.
Absolutely.
But I want people to celebrate my life, and I want to give them a reason to do that.
I'm the same way. I agree. So for the next 5 years, you're just going to pay it forward. That's
Yes.
what I'm hearing.
For the next 5 years, I'm going to do whatever I can do to try to achieve the success that I want for myself and for the people around me.
I love it. The next question, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but your peak life, what does that look like to you? What does that mean?
So, to be honest, now thinking about that and saying what I just said, I think my peak life is going to be the day of my funeral, to be quite honest. Wow. The reason I say that is because every day is an uphill climb because I'm trying to achieve that peak. So my peak life is going to be however it comes. None of us know because we're living. If it's me looking down or, empty shell or whatever the case may be, but to look at my funeral and to see people come to celebrate my life, that's when I'm going to know that I've reached my peak life.
You think that that's going to be all the people you impacted the most?
I think it's going to be the people that are able to attend, that can attend, but I know that there are, because there's people like in my life that has touched my life, and then I've lost touch with them, and I don't know if they're still living. I don't know, but I know the impact that they had on my life. So I want to be able to have such a reach with what I'm doing in life and in business that it reaches that the last day to say, thank you or say, goodbye, that people take that so seriously that they have to be there. And that's what so right now I'm as the old church song says, I'm coming up on the rough side of the mountain looking to get to my peak.
I love it. And I've added an additional question that nobody's really been ready for, but the last interview, he killed it. The question was pretty good. So I've been asking people, I sit here and ask people questions all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been flipping it. We communicate a lot, but that doesn't mean that you don't have anything of interest that you may want to ask me. So do you have something that you want to ask of me while we're doing this interview that I can answer? You want to put me on the hot seat?
Mm-hmm. So one of the most memorable conversations that I was a part of was the day that you decided to come into the office at Creed and tell Mia that you were,
Ooh,
sir,
you going there with it? Come on, man.
that you were leaving.
Yeah.
And I saw you in a very vulnerable state. And it has now come full circle that we are sitting side by side on another couch almost again.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea at that moment that life would bring you to right here?
I'm going to be honest because it's the only thing I know how to do. To a degree, yes. I knew that I had the ability to do something great. But I also knew at that time there were certain things happening that I couldn't allow anymore. And it had nothing to do with yourself or Mia or Creed as a whole. And you guys know that because you were sitting in that room, and I'm not going to speak on it anymore. But when I decided to let go of those things and pursue my own happiness in the industry, it started coming. And as a result of that, I ultimately decided to leave the Navy and come do this full time, amongst other extenuating circumstances. But when I left Creed, I began to prep as a leader in the industry. You know, I got a business partner. We started a team. Then we started putting systems in place and building relationships, and things started going the way I had envisioned them at one point. And it's like, okay, I'm on the right path. And then when I got out and we decided to open a firm, I'm sure some people were like, oh, they're not going to make it. Or how are they going to make that work here? Or, well, the wrong person's in charge because it wasn't always structured the way that it is or whatever. But I knew. I stayed ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, and no matter what happened, our company wasn't going to fail. Ever. Because there's strong-willed, like-minded people involved, and I just couldn't let that happen. So, but I operate like that, you know. And at that time, I was a chief petty officer in the Navy. I was my first year as a chief. My ex-wife had just become a police officer. I had 2 kids at home. So I was almost single dad in it and 2 full-time careers. But I knew there was a better way. So I went through those struggles and went through my divorce and decided to leave the Navy almost as a result of that. And when I dove into this, yeah, I knew I was going to be a fucking legend.
And
that's like the most humble way I could even answer that because so many people are winning around me right now. If you don't see it, you're fucking blind. And I'm just not going to hear the naysayers or the haters or whatever it is. No, we're winning, and you're salty, and it's cool. I don't care. Like, you know,
for that purpose, I know the question has been asked, and it's been asked of me by people outside. Why did I choose Iron Valley? And that your answer is why I chose Iron Valley, because I remember sitting on that couch with you in 2016, and I've seen from the outside everything that you've achieved. And that's what I want for my team, and that's what I want for myself. And what better way to achieve that but to join and get a piece of that.
Well,
So,
I told the people the other day, don't chase rumors, chase results.
yes.
I'm talking shit for a reason. I know you're reading it. It's cool. I don't care if you interact. It's for the people.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But and some of that is a little arrogant, man. Like, because let's scale it back. Did I think we would have 5 offices and 230 something agents? And no, not the way that it has occurred.
Yeah.
But did I believe we could be successful? Yes. Did I think we could be a top firm in the city? Absolutely. Did I believe in everybody around me to do so? Yes, because that's the only way to make it possible is to believe in it and get up and do it every single day. So I think that's it. I think we can cut it there.
Love it.
I appreciate you coming in today,
sir.
Absolutely. This is going to be a good one.
I hope so.
All right.